Welcome to another video, guys. Today's video I'm going to show you how to replace your electrical connector or a pigtail on a Ford Mustang. Stay tuned.
Music bed.
So in today's video I'm going to show you guys how to replace a connector. Really it's going to be, the process is going to be the same regardless, which connector you want to replace on your car. Whether it's, what I'm going to replace here is the fuel rail pressure sensor connector, which is right in here. Or if you're replacing really any connector, so any of the coil connectors or fuel injector connectors, alternator, anything like that. First thing first is make sure you get your connector pigtail. Now this one I am gonna replace it because, let me show you here. So I've been having a connectivity issue with this sensor here, and it'll be hard to maybe see, but the wires here at the end are kind of, they look like they've been kind of bent quite a bit. Now that's how they were, since I got the car, kind of. I mean, this car has quite a bit of miles already, so this stuff just kind of gets worn out and things like that. But you can tell, like, when you move the wires here, they feel a little flimsy here at the end. And what happens is, as the vehicle warms up, on my particular situation, is sometimes I get a code, it kind of stops reading right. But if I come and move this, then it goes back. So I'm going to replace this. It goes here, the pigtail goes all the way here to this harness. So I'm going to uncover this. If you guys see any of the old videos, you see that when I changed the engine, I had the harness off. And I wrapped it all again in the Tessa tape, make sure it was nice. But I never replaced really any of the connectors. So I'm going to unwrap this, replace it, and then, pretty much show you how I would do it. This might not be the best or perfect way to do it, but it's going to be kind of step-by-step of how to do it if you need to replace any of them. Eventually, I think I should have done it when I had the harness out, but I need to replace all the coil connectors. I mean, not all of them, but there's a lot of them that the tab is broken. If you see some of these, they kind of have a little bit of corrosion built up here at the end because they're old, they've probably gone weathered, things like that. Some of the fuel injector connectors also are missing the tabs, things like that. So, if you're going to replace any of your connectors, just follow the same steps as I'm going to show you here. These can get expensive, so if you go to your local parts store, this connector here, I think they wanted like $40 for it. So, think about that. If you're replacing even a coil connector, I think they want like $29 for one. So you start replacing all of them, it gets expensive pretty fast. This one I ordered from Rock Auto. It was about $10 plus shipping, so about $12, $13, which is a lot better. But it's still, something to think about. That's for one connector, about $12, $13. I ordered another connector here for my 67 Mustang, which is going to be for my coil, just that way I don't have just the spades by themselves. So same thing, this one was about $10 plus the shipping. But if you go to the local parts store, this will be, I'm going to say probably like $25, $29 for this little connector. So just put in perspective. Before I get started, before you're going to switch your connector, make sure that you unplug the old one and try the new one. Make sure that it works. All these sensors have little tabs around them to make sure that the connector fits right, or that you put the right connector. So make sure, if it's on the right, it clicks. Try it a couple times. Okay, so with that being said, it does fit, so I can go ahead and move forward. Because if you don't want to change everything and then find out it doesn't plug in, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and set you guys down here for a second so I can start peeling this Tessa tape down and then replace the connector. So a few things you guys will need is obviously like a knife to cut the you know, your connector, your harness actually, your wire loom. You want some wire strippers. You want to use something to solder, so I have this little mini torch here, and I do have the solder wire somewhere in here. I'll have to find it. And then I have some shrink tubing and some tape to cover everything back up. So those are the main things. I did find my solder wire, which is this stuff here. I should have another one, but I have no idea where it is. So anyways, I'm gonna remove this vacuum line from this sensor. There we go, just so we have a little bit more room to look at this harness. And just be careful before you just, you know, go and cut the harness out or the connector. I would wait till you're ready to put the new one in, because I don't know if you got it, but the new one, all the wires are black. They're not color coded. And so you want to make sure you put the right wire, you know, connected to the right wire, I guess, if that makes sense. And be careful if you're working with a knife like this. They're usually pretty sharp. You don't want to cut your finger. I seem to always be doing that, so. And then be careful not to cut other wires or anything like that. So just be careful, be mindful of, you know, where you're cutting. And so here I'm taking some of the taking the Tessa tape that I had put on there out, but then there was some of this old harness tape that's in here that's really old. And you can see here how these wires are just right here on the end. They're really, you know, like they were connected for a long time, especially this here in the middle. It's pretty pinched here. And so I think that's where the problem was, or is. But I'm just gonna peel this a little bit farther back. And so you can tell on your harness, you know, kind of check kind of how it looks. So for me, I mean, I can see the cables look pretty good past like an inch after the connector. See, like here it's pretty pinched too, but over here they look pretty good. So I'm probably gonna cut around this area here. I always try to live like 3-4 inches away. That way, if something happens with the new connector, I can always, you know, cut and put another one, or if something happens with my connections, I have some left over of the new connector to just put on there. I mean, this could be a little bit short and it will still reach, but I don't want to make it so short that if something happens, I don't have enough wire here. So I'll probably cut around here and then just splice them in. So I'm gonna just kind of separate the wires like this. On the box that the connector came with, it's kind of weird. They do include these, which are, you know, butt connectors, and then you can hit them with your little torch to shrink, you know, this shrink tubing. But they only included 2 on a 3 wire connector, so that's interesting. What I'm gonna do though, I'm gonna do a little bit different. I'm gonna actually solder the wires and then use the shrink tubing, but you can do it either way. Other thing to remember, like I said, the wires are all black on the new one, so you want to make sure that you have the connector the same way. Make sure you don't flip this like this and then start matching the wires, because that's going to be backwards. So make sure you have it the same way. For instance, here I'm going to start with this one, which is going to be the red one. Okay, and I'm going to prep this one first. So like I said, I'm going to do it around here. This should be about the length, but I'm going to keep it about an inch longer just to make sure. Because I'm going to strip some of the wiring anyways and connect them. So I'm just going to cut this connector here, all the wires. So this is what I did on the pigtail. So I cut them all same length, and then I'm just stripped them down. So I'm going to go ahead and twist this a little bit. Again, I'm just showing you how I do this. You know, I'm sure there's people out there that are experts on how to do this the perfect way, but this will work. To be honest, before the whole, you know, all the time that I've been working on cars, I would always just twist them together, 2 wires. Now this was like years back, right? But this is what I used to always do. You know, you just twist your wires. You kind of put both together and you twist them really good like that, and then I would tape them with good electrical tape, make sure it was tight, and I mean, I never had a problem. Now with something like that, is the only thing is, if you ever pull on the harness, you can potentially pull them apart, where if you solder the wire, I mean, it's welded together. So you know, if you're pulling on a harness, or you know, someone pulls on your harness, it's less likely that it's gonna come apart. But if you're not pulling on it, I mean, like I said, I never had a problem with that. So, so like I said, I'm gonna do the black one here on the end. I mean, they're all black with this red one. Make sure it's the same one, and I'm just gonna go cut about here. So we're at the point of no return here. Cut this out, and then we're gonna sorry about that. So I pulled the insulation out, got my wire here. I'm just gonna twist it a little bit. Another thing is to remember, if I'm gonna put some shrink tubing in here, you have to put it in there before you put the wires together. So make sure you remember to do that, because I mean, I guess it won't be a big deal if you forget to put the shrink tubing in here. You can always just wrap it with some electrical tape or anything like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these together here. Okay, it's like this thing's here. You can see them. Just that way you can, I guess technically you can put these on here to hold it straight for you. Kind of hold it in any angle. You can buy these at like Harbor Freight. They're pretty, I don't know, they're like $10. They're just nice because, you know, it holds it right there. So while you're trying to weld or anything, it's not, you're not trying to hold it with one hand and do it. So get your little torch. You're gonna heat up the wire here. And you're just gonna make sure that you solder both of the wires together pretty good. And so really that's all it takes. Gonna take this out here carefully. It's probably still hot, so. But as you can see, I mean, those wires are soldered together. Now, you can go back and do this other side a little bit more. If you wanna just make sure you get everything. But once you get the wire warm enough, the solder is gonna pretty much just bond them together, so that is not coming apart. And what I'm gonna do is pull my shrink tubing down about there so it covers everything. And then just make sure you hit it all the way around, so it's nice and tight, and that's gonna keep the water from going in there. Now remember, where you solder the cable, it's going to be a little bit harder. That's why I say don't do it at the end, because once we wrap this harness here with tape, there's going to be this little spot here where the cables are going to be a little bit harder because the solder welded them together. But if you have enough harness left over, I mean, you can still have enough to bend it around. So keep that in mind. Alrighty, so we've got one of them done. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do the middle one. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna do this last one. And let me get that shrink tubing so I don't forget it this time. And put it on this side. I'm gonna twist this wires here. All right. Right, once again, like I said, that's nice and strong. It will not come apart. Go ahead and put your shrink tubing down. And there we go. So, you know, these are all set. Now the last thing to do is I'm gonna do the Tesa tape all the way from back here. If you're not able to get your roll in here, you can always wrap it in a little socket. That way you have enough room to go around. So And this will be an extra layer of protection for that harness too. You can also do some wire loom in here, but you know, I just like to use this kind of tape in my harness now. A lot of the wire loom, I mean, it kind of gets weird and brittle after a while. Sometimes it just kind of breaks off. This tape stays pretty good throughout the lifetime of it. And from what I hear, mice don't like to chew on this kind of tape. So if you live in an area that mice like to get into your harnesses, you know, it might be a good idea to use this kind of tape. All right, so there we are, all set. Like I said, there's gonna be this little area here that the harness is not gonna be as pliable or flexible, but we have enough harness to really plug in, and it's not gonna be all bent here. So that's where it is. Gonna plug this back in. And that is how you do your connector repair. So not too bad. Like I said, you know, this is just how I do it. Help you guys if you need to replace any connectors. Again, this is probably not like the most professional or the best way to do it, but it's a way to get it done. You don't have to pay someone, you know, a couple $100 to do it. You could do it yourself. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you liked it, leave the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.